Here's next week's agenda. Aha, he'll be good at the speakers. Christy Sorensen, Jeff Burns, and Nee Chow. I wonder who has to evaluate them. I'm evaluator 1. I have to evaluate Christy Sorensen. Panic, fear, breaking out in sweats. I don't know what to do. I'm going to email her and tell her to tell me what to improve. How many of you have felt like that? Come on, be honest. Okay, it was a little dramatic, but when you see that you're going to evaluate somebody that's really superb, you wonder how in the world you're going to do this. Our purpose this morning is to walk through some instruction on how we can do good evaluations. We're going to talk about 3 different things. First of all, some techniques that you use for any kind of approach. Second of all, we're going to talk about numerous different approaches that have been used throughout Toastmasters. And then I'm going to share some of my own tricks of the trade. Just to prognosticate a little bit here, I am going to send an email with a handout with all this information. Don't try to take a pile of notes. It'll all be in the handout. First of all, let's talk about the techniques. The purpose of the evaluator is to encourage the speaker. The first thing we want them to do is know that we're behind them 100%. And we do that through various means, but we put that in the front of our mind. The first thing we do is before the speech, try to contact your speaker and ask them, what are some things that you're trying to accomplish? Are there any specific concerns? During the speech, you want to listen really carefully. This is where eye contact is really important from audience to the speaker. Make sure that you're paying close attention. The other thing is you want to be watching them carefully because they might do something goofy that would be annoying to people, and you want to be able to point that out to them. You want to express from your point of view. Some say use I language. I noticed that when you were doing this occurred. I kind of blend that a little bit. I use a technique called pinpoint behavior. You did this kind of thing, and here's how that helped. You did that kind of thing, and here's how that could be improved. Point is to use pinpoint behavior with that. Okay? A key thing to remember is we are evaluating the speech. We're not evaluating the speaker. We don't ever want to never insult. This is obvious to all of us here, but it happens in some of these evaluations where you just don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know why you're up there doing that. We just never want to go there. We want to promote self-esteem within the person. A classic example of that occurred. He was actually it was early in my time, and he was a pretty experienced speaker, but he was from another country, and he still struggled with English as a second language. And he got up here and he got into his speech, and he suddenly stopped. He said, I have to sit down. He walked over to his spot. Well, what do you think we did? We gave him thunderous applause for having the guts to do that. What do you think his evaluator did? He spoke about the good things that he did. Nobody had to mention that he had to sit down. 3 weeks later, he was back up here because of the encouragement that he got. Now, isn't that the team you want to be part of? That's a good way to do evaluations. Let's talk about some of the approaches that can be used within Toastmasters. There are numerous resources. If you search Toastmaster evaluations, you're going to have piles and piles of information. One of them that's going to come up is evaluation forms. Pathways evaluation. If you're in Pathways, you will notice at the end, it gives you this kind of form. You just download this. This thing is 3 pages long, and it's got all kinds of suggestions, ratings that you can do. And then the last page is the same for every evaluation. Lots of information that you can use. I have found this particularly helpful to use on occasion. Right back on that counter over there is a really old Toastmaster evaluation form. There are some of us that like to use this. And it says, as I saw you, as I heard you, and as I reacted to you. If you've been here at all, you've heard other members use that type of thing to fill out. I found on my hard drive an evaluation form that's table format, and its author is none other than Rick Lean. He came up with this, and it says things, what I saw as an audience member, what I liked, what can you change, and then the summary. Things like, did the opening catch my attention? Did the conclusion sum it up? Did you make a point? Did we learn a lesson? One that I like to add to this is, did you engage your audience? Did you help the audience feel what you were trying to feel? The thing that I actually like to use, I will often take the agenda and I'll just use the backside. I learned this from a very experienced member of our club, Clint Calvert. And he talks about, as you're listening, listen to two things that they do really well. Find one or two things that they can improve. And then tell them how they can use their strengths to overcome those improvements. I have found that to be a really helpful way when, but some people like to get up and just give speeches that aren't in the manual or anything anywhere, and there's no way. What do you do? That approach is really, really helpful. Now let's talk about some of the tricks that I have learned. Listen to other evaluators. My best meetings are when I come here and the only words I say are my introduction. Just sit there and listen. Listen to the speakers, how they're doing. Listen to the evaluators and see what they point out. I'm telling you, we've got some exceptional members in here, and you give really good points. Listen to the other evaluators. Of course, you want to monitor the standards. You want to monitor things like vocal variety. Are they loud enough? What's their body language? Those are all standard things that we want to watch with everybody. You kind of want to watch for quirks. We already mentioned that particular idea, and people might do something weird. And we all have habits that we do, and we might do that, and it's irritating to people that are watching, but we don't know we're doing it. And we really, really need you to point that out. The last thing I'll point out is, please use your own skill level, especially new members. I love it. I love it when a new member watches and does an evaluation. You folks are not immersed in the Toastmaster way. You see things that absolutely nobody else sees. So I really pay attention when a newer member does an evaluation. Yes, you're usually frightened out of your wits, but you see things that nobody else does. And that's really, really helpful. We talked about some techniques that we can use. We talked about some approaches that we can use. And we talked about some of the tricks that I have found here to help you evaluate. How many have noticed that the skills that we learn here aren't actually just for Toastmasters? The skills we're here so that we can function better out there, like in our work, like in our family. I kind of wish I'd have learned these evaluation skills earlier for my 8 children and speaking with my wife. As you develop these evaluation skills, they will help you in your life. By the way, Christy Sorensen is one of the most gracious people you will ever meet. She accepts feedback really well, and it's really fun to evaluate her. Madam Toastmaster.